Cool beans, Cobra. Welcome to another edition on the podcast. This
Thank you,
time, mate.
brother.
Yeah, that's okay. Really nice. This time, mate, as I've done in the intro, you rung me. I think about a week ago. You sounded like really upset, fed up, pretty emotional over Charlie Kirk's death. What's going on there, mate? What's got to you? What what what's made you emotionally respond that way? That's what I'm really interested to know, dude. You sound like
Well,
you've got a lot that has bothered you, and you said, "Oh, we need to do a podcast." And I said, "Okay, let's go there." We tried not to because we always talk about lots while we're on the phone. We said, "No, we won't go there." But yeah, here we go, mate. This is I've got some questions I want to ask you, but that initial one is the little probe to why what's affected you here, bud.
I watched a lot of Charlie Kirk, a lot of his debates, whether it be in Oxford University or Union, or with the professors or with the students out of the what they call colleges, which is universities, out in America. And whether you agree or you don't agree with his politics or with his talking points, we had an immensely intelligent man who was going out there and talking to people who opposed his views and happily talking to them and politely talking to them. Um, and the assassination, I just briefly putting it, I think we have lost a great mind. A great mind. And as I say, it doesn't matter whether you agree with his politics or not, but that's what hit me. Like, is this what we are? That when you don't agree with someone, we can just get rid of them? And I'll go deeper into that as you ask me questions.
Okay, that's fair because one immediately I always think, "Oh, what is it? Was it the person or what it stood for?" And we'll reveal that during the podcast, hopefully. But one of my first questions is when when you think about Charlie Kirk's legacy, which obviously that's going to be revealed, what emotional weight hits you first?
His mind. It's when you have a man of this caliber, and when I say that, as I say, it's not about his politics as such. This man was well read. He would read hundreds of books in a year, and he could talk about economy, socialism, Marxism, communism, capitalism. He could talk about religion. He could talk about so many things. And as you know, I love to debate. I love to debate. So I would sit there and I'd listen to his debates, and in my head, I was debating against or for him, depending on the subject. And I just think that when you have such a great mind, to close it off the way it was done was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And again, we can talk about what happened afterwards, but let's talk about what he was as a person first, which was um, and you know, I'm not religious at all, but he was a devout Christian. So a lot of his morals stem from that. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people won't associate with him, because we've got so many atheists out there now. But you had such a great mind who wanted to sit down and talk, and we killed him. Or not we, but he was killed. And I just think that's terrible. And then the people who sort of are against him, a lot of them talk about people like him being fascist. Well, a fascist doesn't allow you to speak. A fascist rules by an iron fist, and what they say goes. But this guy went out there and he said to you, if you don't agree with my points, come to the front and talk to me. Let's debate it. Let's have a good faith conversation. And they killed him. So who's the fascist? Who's the one who stopped the speech by killing someone?
Yeah, it's interesting because in your initial words, you used assassination, which I
Yeah,
find interesting. I'm going to ask you, why did you use the word assassination?
because he was assassinated. Look, the guy who did the actual shooting was a 22-year-old person. And he had been radicalized by what he hears out there. And what he hears out there is a lot that comes from the news, it comes from TV, it comes from words being taken out of context. So the left, or whether you look at it, the Democrats as such, or the left, or other people who funded the far left, this was an assassination. This was a killing of, we need to get rid of him. He's too strong in his points and he's influencing too many people. And he did. He influenced so many young minds um, to think about things in a certain way. And there were people out there who didn't like that. So it is an assassination, whatever way you look at it. A guy lying on a roof and shooting a gun and, killing him like that. Um, there were other things to it, and maybe we'll find that out in time, and I hope we do. But it was an assassination, whichever way you look at it. He was assassinated, and I think that's horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
So getting back, we'll get into that more deeply. Um, for you personally, it obviously what I picked up from that conversation when you rang me, you sound it isn't normal that you ring me and express deep emotional reaction to something. This one did. This conversation did. And that's what I really want at the beginning of this, really want to find out why. What was that deep rooted connection? Was was this always in you? Is there certain aspects of what you believe in just been manifested out of the product of this happening to Charlie Kirk? What is
I
it within you?
Yeah, I live my life by morals. It's always been morals, doing the right thing, treating people the right way, and all that lot. Now, a lot of people will have a very different view of Charlie Kirk to me, but I think he had morals. So a lot of his talking points, which are disagreed on, were, let's say, about abortion or whatever. And I don't agree with everything. I'm not saying I do, but he had very strong morals. He used to talk about the family unit, that we have too much divorce, we have too much single parents raising kids, and this is part of the problem that we have. That's a strong, good moral to me. He, excuse me, he would talk about um, so many different points which were moralistic, which were a good way to live your life. Um, and he would talk about talking rather than violence. Everything about him was about a decent moral. As I say, you don't have to agree with everything, but it came from a good place. And as I said many a time, I don't believe in religion myself, but I think any religion that's followed to the good points of that religion will lead you to have a good life. And that was him. His words have been taken out of context so many times, and they've clipped little things that he said to make it look bad. He talked about abortion. Now, I didn't agree with there should be a total ban on abortion. The reason I say that is if um, a poor lady is raped or has incest or something like that, it's a very traumatic experience, and I think they should have the option for an abortion. Now, that's my view. That doesn't really matter in this subject, to tell the truth. But the point is that a lot of people hated that. But his morals were right. How many children, babies, are being killed for contraception, basically? Because, oh, I got pregnant, let's just get an abortion. I don't agree with that. So his whole side came from morals, decency. He was a good man in my eyes. And he was killed, and an intelligent man. And I think the reason it hit me so hard was we don't get so many intelligent men who are so well versed in so many different subjects that we killed him. We killed a man with intelligence who could have brought a good way of living to a lot of people, and he did. And there are many people who say, look, I was living my life like this, and I started following Charlie Kirk, and I listened to him and all that, and they changed their ways to be good. He didn't drink, he didn't take drugs, there was nothing like that. It was all about the family unit. And I just think, how have our society got so messed up that we defend unmoralistic, stupid ways of living our life, OnlyFans, this, that, and the other? It's horrendous the way our kids are growing up. It's horrendous the way we behave, and it's horrendous of what we think is okay to do because you have a difference of opinion with someone.
Okay, cool. I love the words you use. Another word there, morality. So while I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, okay, this guy obviously meant to Cobra. Correct me if I'm wrong. And at this point, I would say that he was a young man, family man, and unfortunately, the deeper effect of this is he's left and he's got two little children, I believe.
Yeah,
And I think sometimes in the big scheme of things, we can forget that, which is why I've just mentioned that. That's an important part. There has been a tragic loss, just as a humanity, a human point of view.
yeah, for
But
sure.
getting back to, I'm beginning to understand that was would I be right in saying that Charlie Kirk was a bigger representation of the morals of how you'd like to live your life?
Yes and
Not
no.
in not in
It's not just
detail.
about me. It's not just about me. It's about society. Our society is broken in the Western world. I'm sorry, but it really, really is. It's broken in so many ways. We don't value things that should be valued. And all right, again, you're going to say, well, that's your point of view of what is valued and what isn't valued. But just look at our youth. Just look at what's going on. Look at how they're looking at making money with the girls going on OnlyFans and doing all sorts of rubbish. Um, I just think look at the gang violence that goes on even in the UK. Um, the work ethic has gone out the window. Um, the entitlement is just off key. Wokeism. I don't care. I'm going to say it straight. The woke agenda has been horrendous, horrendous, to where we're mutilating children and telling them they can be this or they can be that when it just doesn't make scientific or logical sense. How far down do we go? Just saying, yeah, well, everyone's got the right to this and everyone's got the right to that, and but you're not really giving these kids the right, are you? You're making decisions on what you think is right and wrong. That a man can be a woman, or a woman can be a man, or they can go and play in men can play in women's sports, and someone in Italy is getting a broken nose because. Do you know what I mean? It's just our standards have hit rock bottom, and here's someone who stood there and said, "Stop and think about everything now." Do you know what I mean? Think about everything and use your intelligence and use your logic to change your life and change the way we are. We're a broken society. I don't care what way you look at it.
Okay,
And
that's cool, man. I mean, you've gone through 8 different podcasts,
yeah, I know there's so much. And this is the
but that's
problem. He
cool.
spoke about so much. So there's so much to him.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to dig into because and the point of hopefully today was to try and understand why you reacted and why you're being this passionate now. And the reason why I said that obviously you live by a set of morals, we all do. Uh, that can be debated left, right, and centre. And that's why I asked that question. Was you attracted, not in that sense, but attracted to watching and consuming not necessarily what he stood or was talking about, but the pure morality that he stood up and expressed himself? And was that something that was dear to your personal own heart? Because it sounds like it. And that's how maybe you had that emotional response to it. Would that make sense?
I
Not
think it was
necessarily on
because
what he was saying, but just the pure. What's an easy way to put it? If you was on Charlie Kirk's platform and had built that, would this be the way you would express yourself on deep morals, on deep understanding of what you believe in, and try to democratically put it across to express your viewpoint?
think what it was that drew me to Charlie Kirk was that he would allow everyone to speak. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter what sex you were. It didn't matter what color you were. It didn't matter what your opinion was. He would debate anyone and he would talk about any subject they pulled up and he wouldn't put them down for it. You know, being a Christian, he had very, very strong views on gay people. And he didn't turn around and put them down. He said, "Why are you living your life by telling people the first thing is, I'm gay? Live your life. What you do in the bedroom don't matter." And this is the point I'm trying to make. he didn't hate anyone, and everyone says he talked hate. He was a hate preacher and all. No, he weren't. He was trying to say to these people, look, what you do in the bedroom's up to you. He goes, I don't agree with your way of life. But there was I remember there was a conservative, which is what he was, a conservative young lad who came up and he said, I'm a gay conservative and I don't know how to associate the two together. And he goes, well, why are you a gay conservative? Why are you telling me you're a gay conservative? Why don't you tell me you're a conservative? And we'll talk about that. Why are you putting... So what I'm trying to say is he wanted to talk to everyone. And that's what I loved about him. That he wasn't saying, oh, well, I don't agree with you. I don't want to talk to you. You're wrong. But he would debate your ideas. And there was amazing debates. There was, yes, his morals was one major thing for me, definitely. But I didn't agree with all his morals. So as I say, he's a strong Christian, so he had strong views about certain things. But why are we shutting it down? Why are we using these words like fascist, bigot, Nazi, Hitler? And I can go into that as well about why we use those words. But why are we doing that? Why can't someone say, no, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with whatever it may be. Have a discussion with me. What was wrong with that? Why was that so wrong?
Yeah, it's interesting, and again, that's another rabbit hole we can if we've got time we can
There's
pursue.
so many of these.
Yeah, there is. What is really cool is what I'm beginning to observe just in a very brief, haven't been on for that long, is that I can see characteristics within you that are a reflection of what Charlie Kirk was doing as well. It's this expression of um, we'll touch on it, free speech, debating, not holding anybody to a overly account during that debate, but just expressing a view. And I think would I be right in saying that's quite a big part of your character, yourself?
100%. I mean, look, we've even on your what podcast, bro? We've had many discussions with yourself, Camel Finance. We've talked about aliens. We've talked about religion and all that. And I haven't always agreed, let's say, with Camel. But we've had great debates about it, right? We've clashed our views and we've hammered it out. Do you know what I mean? And best of friends afterwards, no problem, no dispute, no anger between each other, even on religion and different things. What is the problem with that? What is the problem? So yes, that is my character. I'll debate. You've always said, "Oh, you get very passionate." You'd laugh with me and go, because I get heated in a conversation, not in a bad way or a negative way, but I'm like, no, but that, yeah, I love a passionate debate. I do, 100%.
That's cool
But Charlie
because
was more controlled. He was more controlled than what I am.
yeah, you can be controlled there as well. But it doesn't matter whether you're controlled or not. It's the deeper understanding of the characteristics and passion around the morality of what we're trying to do as individuals. And that has a true reflection in society as a whole because we are many individuals. And that opens up the real importance of expression, especially in this day and age, as we seem to be having to pick sides and bits and pieces. So yeah, I mean, I can now see, and hopefully the audience can see, a similarity in us all when something like this happens, because there is a direct correlation with certain people's morality that we click to and we're attracted to because it means something to us. It hits us down in the heart a little bit because morally we go,
100%.
yeah, yeah. So that's
100%.
so that that's really cool, man. And I'm beginning to understand why he was so emotionally passionate about that. It was more than Charlie Kirk. It was more almost a hit on what you believe in, your own
Yeah.
moral. That's what I'm trying to get out,
Yeah, it
trying to
was
get out
definitely.
of
It
it.
was
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. It was a hit on the freedom to debate decently with opposing views. 100%. You're absolutely correct. That's what it was. It was a hit on us to be able to chat, to be able to talk. And one of his biggest sayings was, "When the talking stops, the violence starts." Well, he weren't fucking wrong. Oh, excuse my language. He weren't wrong. He weren't wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Talking is what solves problems. Debating with each other is what gets different viewpoints across. The universities, you look at Oxford and the Oxford Union, one of the most established, amazing places for debates. And even there, they were the cancel culture from the left was horrendous. If there was a speaker coming in that the majority didn't agree with, we don't want him speaking it. How dare you? So how do you develop your views? How do you develop your intelligence when you're not even allowing someone to come and debate an opposing view to you? How can you grow if you can't listen?
You
And the
can't.
problem was that a lot of his stuff was taken out of context. They would clip certain things and say, well, that's what he said. No, he didn't. Listen to that whole section of debate and really understand. And I can bring up several different occasions where that was done. Do you know what I mean? To where you'll say, oh, actually, is that what he said? Yeah, but that's what you should have listened to before you started saying it was hate preach and he was a Nazi and a fascist and all that. And these are the words that are used just to bring someone down who you don't agree with. So it gives you the right to have political violence against them by calling them a fascist or a Nazi. Because if you think of a Nazi, everyone will say, yeah, well, the Nazis were dangerous and they were evil and we should kill them. And, you know, so when you call a normal person who's having strong debates a Nazi, you're opening it up to telling people, yeah, do what you want with him because he's a Nazi. And that's where it went wrong.
But I think I'm going to push it a little bit deeper than that. I think that's a pure reflection of everything that goes on,
Yeah,
not just what he was talking about. Absolutely everything.
yeah,
It's 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 become maybe I don't want to go off topic too much, but it has become a deeper concern of mine to see how people are being manipulated and pushed to choose the club, the side, the colour, the left, the right, the blue, the red, the alternative. You know,
absolutely
it's
agree.
deeply concerning, really
Yeah,
deeply concerning. And this again is another highlight to me that there's a bigger narrative around us as humanity now than probably maybe it's been repeated in the past, but it's under a totally different setup. Totally different
bro,
setup.
I
So
agree. I mean, look, how many conversations, even before I ever looked at Charlie Kirk, or even before you ever knew anything about Charlie Kirk, how many conversations did we have on the phone for hours where we would debate a subject? It wasn't for a podcast, it wasn't for anything. And I'd go, no, bruv, I don't agree with you. Yeah. Why? Tell me why. Explain that. Explain this. Or you'd do the same to me. You'd question me and you'd make me think about, and I'd go, I'd even turn around and you go, bloody hell, never thought about it that way. Ain't that how we learn?
it
Right?
is.
How many times did that happen between you and me?
Oh, God knows. Hours and
Did
hours.
it break our friendship?
No,
It
not.
made us stronger, right?
Yeah,
Because we could
absolutely.
have a conversation about anything, whether we agreed or not. And I'd go, no, bro, you're I believe you're wrong. This is what I believe. Why? Look at this. Look at it that way. Look at this way. And you do the same. What is wrong with that? Why can't we do that?
Well, we can, and we do,
Well, we
and and
obviously don't. We shot someone for it.
oh, well, I didn't personally, and you didn't
No, nor did
personally,
I. No.
um,
But you get my
and
point.
100%, and that's why I said this is a pure reflection of maybe this is yet again, unfortunately, as history always tells us, it's another signal to say, what are you doing, humans? What are you doing? Because you're not learning, and maybe it's a cyclical learning. I don't know. It's another debate. It's another topic. I want to get back into Charlie Kirk and you. It's fascinating though, dude, and it is one. You're definitely right. You should be able to have constructive, non-physical, violent conversations to make us all sit up and actually take a good look at ourselves and think it isn't about right or wrong, it's about improving and evolving.
Yeah. And this is my point, brother. Even though I did agree
Yep,
with a lot he said and I didn't agree
I'm
with
with
some
you.
of what he said, it's not about that.
Yeah,
None of that matters.
uh, no, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It's the core principles.
Yeah,
Morality
yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Morality. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second question. Do you see him as someone who inspired youth or someone who deepened division?
absolutely inspired youth. And I'll tell you why. I've watched him for quite a while. And before President Trump came into power, there was a lot of people who would turn up to his debates at the colleges and they would be against him. They'd boo him and all that sort of stuff. And as he spoke again and again and again, and his videos went out there all over YouTube, people started watching, and then you'd see the crowd change to the majority supporting him, cheering for him. Now, again, it was, don't get me wrong, there was always the left side, even in the students, who were totally against him. But it's because they never listened to him and they couldn't argue points with him because their first go to thing was to insult him or insult anyone who didn't agree with them. So therefore, they could not get good talking points. But saying that, I respect every left student that went up there and debated with him because, in good faith, they went up there and they put their points across. Whether he um, showed them that it wasn't right or whether they agreed in the end or not, they went up there and they were the decent ones who would talk to him. Right? There were some who were quite abusive, even when they spoke to him, and that was stupid. But there you go. But in the whole, he influenced many, many youth. And this is why the Democrats didn't like him as well. This is why the left didn't like him, because he was getting people to understand that there is a moralistic and decent way to live your life. And also, he was trying to tell people stop being victims all the time. The longer you carry on saying, oh, but this is what happened to the black people, or this is what, yes, there were things that happened to the black people which were horrendous. I went through major racism in the 70s and 80s, which was horrendous, right? But if I had lived my life just living on what happened to me as a kid or as a teenager, I wouldn't be where I am today. It was because I put that aside and said, okay, that's what happened in the past. Now I have to build my future, right? And the way people look at you as an Asian or as a black person or whatever will depend on how you talk to them. So if I talk to you and think, well, CPM, he's a white guy, I'll talk to him, but you know what? I don't really like him because he's white and look what the white people did to me before, right? Then you will never appreciate me and we will never get on. Or if I harbour old histories of the British Empire, look what they did. They went all around the world, raping and pillaging three-quarters of the world to get their empire, right? Starved people out and all the rest of it. And I stuck to that in my views of English people. How could I expect to be part of the country I live in and the people I live with? So that was what he was trying to say, that look, stop being a victim and improve your life for yourself. Because as long as you're telling yourself, well, slavery happened, and because of slavery, I can't proceed, that's a load of rubbish. Because there were plenty of black people out there who did succeed and did push themselves because they weren't going to live in the past. And these are the sort of things that made people adjust, right? These were the sort of morals that made, and he was doing it in a way to build people, not to put people down. He wasn't trying to say to black people, well, this, that. DEI, one of the major subjects he talked about. And what he was trying to say is, how can we tell black people we can let you come into college or pass a certain thing by lowering the standards? Yeah. What are we saying? That black people haven't got the intelligence to do it? No, we need to push them. We need to push their societies further up and make them stronger. And he also said something that Martin Luther King said many, many times, right? Stop looking at the color, right? Start looking at the person. We shouldn't even be seeing color. When I talk to you, Andy, I don't go, I'm talking to a white guy. I go, I'm talking to Andy, my mate, right? And I'm sure you don't go, I'm talking to a brown guy. You know what I mean? You're talking to Cobra, your friend, right? So look at what he was, and this is where people go with hate speech. Oh, he didn't appreciate what happened in slavery. No one's denying what happened. No one's denying the atrocities that were done during the slave days. But do you want to live in the past or do you want to live now? And this is the thing with him. He influenced people in a positive way. His message was positive and not negative.
Yeah, no, mate, I love where you're coming from. But do do you think that, getting back to the question a little bit, was why did he choose youth? Why? what, why do you think, I mean, almost we're trying to put not Charlie Kirk's views because you're pretty similar, deeply. Why do you think he did all the university stuff and was really interested in the youth side, you know?
Two reasons, bruv. One, the youth of the future. Whatever's going to happen politically or in our morals, in our standards, is going to come from the youth. It's not going to come from people like you and me. We're already done. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know, we're married, we've got our kids, we're done, right? It's going to come from the youth. And the other reason was, bruv, he truly believed, and so do I, right, that universities and colleges have been infiltrated with woke culture. They live in a bubble. They're told certain things, they believe it, and they live in it, right? And he was trying to break that. So, how are you going to change the future of a country? How are you going to change the way people think into a more moralistic, decent view of family units and all that lot? You're going to talk to the youth. That's the ones you teach. That old saying comes in, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? It's going to be very hard. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably a bit different because I will learn every day of my life, and I believe you should. But I'm probably also set in my ways in quite a few things, and they're not going to change. So if you really want to change a country and you really want to change the morals of that country and the way they are, you talk to the youth. You teach the youth. You let them learn by debating with you. You let them come with their ideas. Look at where we've gone when you look at, I don't know which gen it is, Gen Z at the moment or whatever it is, right? And we've talked about this, and I'll say it out loud and I'll say it as it is. The entitlement, the laziness, and I'm not saying all of them, please don't think I'm saying all of them, but there is entitlement and there is laziness and there is this opinion of everyone else has got to do for me, right? We have to change this. Our generation, and I'm sure you'll agree, and if you don't, please say so. Our generation were grafters, right? And people go, well, you know, males haven't been able to show their emotion, and males, you know, this is why this is a misogynistic world, and this, that, and the other, because males have always been told to be strong. Yes, yes, be strong, be strong, because we protect our families and we protect our women, and we go out there and we graft to keep our families good. Yes, you need to be strong. I'm not saying you can't have an emotion. I'm not saying that when my brother passed away, I didn't cry. Do you know what I mean? But in general, I have to be strong and I have to do things. And you know what? It's better for my own psyche and it's better for me to be strong and to be able to get through hard times than to break down every time and go, oh, that's happened. Oh, that's happened. You see, if you have a negative outlook to life, you'll live in a negative world. And so he was influencing the youth. That was the people who are going to make our future.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I will just turn and say, I don't thank you very much for saying I'm past it either way.
Well,
But
we're
I
not past it, but we're getting there.
no, but I still think we have a part to play even at our age because you know, we have wisdom, experience, and knowledge. Um,
So
so
wouldn't our
this
part be to teach the youth?
exactly, yeah. It's the part that's what you do, I presume, with your family, and it's what I do with my family, and
Yeah.
that's
And
all
that's what
we can
Charlie
do.
did with the universities.
Yeah, exactly. So the back half of that question was, or someone who deepened division, and I think there's obviously two sides to this whole thing. There's
Yeah,
always it. I hate saying it, but it's reality. There's with one view, there's always an opposite view. With one way of living, there's always another way of living. There's, you know, the duality of humanity is just in everything that we
absolutely.
do. So I'm just going to sort of ask you to sort of stretch yourself a little bit and just see, is there a possibility that he was someone who maybe deepened division by doing what he was doing?
All right, did he? Did he deepen the division? Or did the people on the left who influence our youth on the left deepen the division by putting false narratives out on what he said? Did he deepen the division by saying to the people who disagreed with him, right, who had a division with him, please come and talk to me. Please come and debate me. Was it him deepening the division when he would ask those people to come to the front of the line and be the ones who had the ability out of thousands of people watching him to come and talk to him? He could have said, oh, you know, if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, come to the front and have a chat with me. He didn't do that. He asked the opposing side to come and talk to him, and he talked to them decently and in good faith. So was it him deepening the division, or was it the people, unfortunately, who were higher up in the left, older people and all that, who teach the younger people, like the teachers in the universities who were saying that he was creating hate, who were misquoting what he did. And we saw it after he passed away. How many people said stupid things? And even I, who is not in America and who unfortunately never met him because I would have loved to have met him, could say that's not what he said. I literally sat there listening to some of the rubbish that was coming out of their mouths, going, that's not what he said, right? So who caused the division? Who caused that break between the two sides? It wasn't him. He was trying to mend that. He was trying to get people to talk. It was other people who were changing his words. It was other people who were giving the wrong message out there about what he was saying. So, no,
Yeah.
I don't think he caused division. I think he tried to cause unity.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from totally. It's quite interesting actually because I really try, and you know what I try to do. I really try to put myself in the middle and just try
Yeah,
and unfortunately, like I said in the intro, I haven't done a deep dive on his true viewpoints, and I'll be honest, if it ever popped up on my feed on YouTube, I found it very entertaining. I didn't really sort of deeply get into. I could hear what was being said, but I was probably more looking at how the reaction was from him and from whoever he was talking to, rather than really getting
yeah.
into the context of the conversation. So, the interesting thing I often think through questions like this is by we all probably know there's a left and a right and a one and a two and two sides to all the conversations, debates, and whatever, as we spoke about. But is there any possibility that by him just being there could deepen the division because what's going on the other side is happening anyway, and what Charlie was doing has just emphasized or given maybe fuel to the opposite side? I think that's where the question that I would look at, whether it was right or wrong and whether he should be there, is a different question. But just him being there and expressing that viewpoint, does that in any way, or could it in any way, have an effect for the opposite side's viewpoint to actually start to cement their ideology, their morality, or whatever, just by him being there?
Bro, the only reason that would happen is because those people who are cementing their ideology, whether it be right or wrong, I'm not getting into the politics of it, were not willing to listen. They were not willing to listen. So if you've got someone who has opposing views, you don't want to listen to him. You just want to put him down straight away and say, "Don't want him here. He don't believe in what I believe in." Do you know what I mean? He's against gay or lesbians in the principle of how they live, not against them as in he didn't want them to exist or anything like that, right? Then you're going to have that strong opinion, and that's going to be you. Let me ask you something, bruv. How does the British Parliament work? Right? At the moment, the Labour Party's in power, right? When you go to Parliament House, is it just the Labour Party sitting there going, well, let's talk about this. Should we do that? Should we do that? No. You have an opposing side. Now, it makes me laugh sometimes when you look at the conversations, all they do is shouting and jeering and putting each other down. I don't understand that. But why do we have that? It's so that there's some sort of control on one view. At the moment, Labour's in and they have their views on certain things and they're doing their certain ways. And again, whether that's wrong or right or agree, we're not going to go into that because that takes away from the subject. But you'll have conservatives sitting on the opposite side fighting against them. And that is to try and balance the views. And again, with our youth, if we just allowed that woke culture that was getting into our universities and colleges and letting them all think that one way and never challenging it, right, that could lead down a very dark and dangerous path. And it was. So I take my hat off to a guy who started at 18 years old, 18 years old, and started talking to people to put another view across. So, yeah, we can turn around and say, Oh yeah, people definitely got more stronger in their leftist views or whatever. But that was their fault, not his, because he was trying to talk to them. Whereas those who got more radicalized into the left or more far left, should we say, and there's far right as well, don't get me wrong, right? And they're horrendous in themselves. But let's talk about the far left because that was the opposite to what he was being, right? Those people are, there are some of them who are going to stick to their views no matter what he says. And even if he's right, they don't want to hear it. The minute they can't fight back again, like I said, you're a fascist, you're a liar, you're a bigot. That's how they defend it. So no, him doing what he did, yeah, it might have pushed people that way, but that's not because of him. What he was doing was trying to have a debate with everyone. If you go further away because you won't even listen to someone, that's on you, not on him.
So are you sort of saying that he obviously recognized within a cultural perspective, the youth, that this was going on and he wanted to have an impact and give a opposite view
100%.
for people? Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
that's what he
He
was
could
doing. So he
see,
recognized it and
absolutely, he could
this is what
see,
he
bro,
did.
we can all
Yeah.
see,
Okay.
right, what's happening in society nowadays. It's not just him, we can all see it. I've
Yeah.
discussed it with you before.
Yeah.
Oh, a child in the school says, I want to be a cat and they can dress up as a furry. Really? Is this
No,
what we are?
you're making me laugh because
No, but it's
that's
true, bro.
something we've spoken about a zillion million times, and
Right.
I don't want to go down that pathway on this
I'm
one.
just making a point.
I
It's not even
know.
about that. The
Yeah.
point is, brother, our society is collapsing because of our ridiculous things that we're allowing.
Mhm.
Absolutely ridiculous. At schools, teachers are turning around and telling kids their opinions politically. Are you having a laugh? Is that for you to teach our kids politically? They weren't teaching them, they were just telling their points. That's the difference. There weren't a discussion about it. And it was radicalizing kids. They weren't teaching them mathematics and English.
Yeah.
They were dressing up and putting gay pride flags up. Why? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with gay pride or gayness or anything like that. Good, cool, live your life. Why are we bringing it into the schools and putting that up there? Why?
Because it influences, doesn't it? We know that.
Right.
We know that. We
Why are
know
we
that.
influencing them in sexuality rather than teaching them what they need to survive in life?
Well, that's the projection of what some people see the future as, dude, and that's
What future?
again, that's a completely another. We could make so many podcasts. This is
But
ridiculous.
do you understand the point that
Of
what we're
course I
talking
do.
about is a man who had all of these points, bruv? All of these points, every time you're saying that could be another podcast. Yeah. Do you know why? Because Charlie Kirk talked about all of these things, bruv. Economy, when you had students, rightly so, being able to talk about communism, right? And they felt that capitalism was a bad thing. He could discuss that with them. He could point out the negatives and the positives of capitalism and the negatives and the positives of communism. Is that not a good thing that he would talk about both sides and talk to these people?
It's an extremely good thing if our youth aren't given the opportunity to balance the argument that they're being presented with when they're at the learning curve.
Which is what he
It's
gave them. He gave them a platform to have their views as well and discuss it with him.
Yeah, exactly. Can I ask a question because I don't know? Was there anyone you mentioned the far left was his opposition? Are you saying that Charlie Kirk was far right, albeit I don't know
No,
all
not
about it?
at all.
Okay, cool.
No, no, no.
So
Not at all. He was
that's
not
great.
far right.
Just in
Even the
case,
word, yeah, go on, sorry.
just in case anyone jumps on the bandwagon, say,
No, no,
oh
no.
yeah, Charlie Kirk, yeah, whatever. So I just want to
Absolutely
clear.
not.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but
When I
I just
say far left, the reason I say far, and these are words, you know, this left right word and all that lot, I don't really like it, to be honest, right?
nor do I.
Because you're putting people in two categories and saying that's the two categories. No, I agree with some of the things on the left and I agree with some of the things on the right. Okay, so we all have views about different points and different things, but they've been put in these categories. And that's what I was trying to say is the extreme people on the left that won't listen and can't learn and don't want to learn. and just have these really strong views, and they're going to call you a fascist and a Nazi and all that. In no way was Charlie Kirk a far right. In no way at all. He embraced people of all cultures, all religions, even though he always said Christianity is the true religion, Christianity is the true thing, and all that lot. And that's his view, and he has every right to that. And as I said, I always respect religions. I'm a strong atheist.
We'll
Don't
come on.
believe in God.
We'll come on to that in a second because that's question three.
Right.
But just to wrap up, because I don't know this, was there anybody as a complete opposite to Charlie Kirk and what he believed in, what he was doing the same thing on university campuses, or was that something that he recognised was just actually being done in the institution itself?
Okay, so I don't believe there's anyone, I'm going to say on the other side, let's say,
Yeah,
rather than saying the left. All
the
right.
opposite.
So,
The
yeah,
opposite.
on the opposite side. Anyone who has the ability or the intelligence to debate the way that Charlie Kirk did. Now, there's one guy, Destiny, who goes out to college campuses and does this on the opposite side, right? But he's so, to me, radicalized, and it's not a good message, bruv. What he's putting out there is not a good message. And he celebrated Charlie's death, and he put down Charlie's wife on the speech she made, saying that she was using his death to politically motivate people. No, she stood there and she poured her heart out about her loss and said that she will fight, and her cries will be like battle cries across the world, right? She was hurting. She had just lost her husband. And this guy, Destiny, who's a debater on the left and not a very good one, in my opinion, um, was proper nasty about it. So no, I don't think there was anyone like Charlie Kirk on the other side, but there are debaters from the other side who go to universities. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't even want to go down that personal route of I well, I'm just going to say one thing from my point of view. How you can celebrate death of another is beyond me.
I don't
And,
think that's something you
and
should avoid in this conversation, bro, to tell the truth, because I think that
no,
just shows us what certain parts of society is,
yeah,
what he was fighting against.
yeah. But to then capitalize on it financially is taking it to another extreme, dude,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's what a lot of people do
yeah,
on both sides. I'm gonna be completely honest. They
yeah,
do it on
yeah,
both sides. It's just yeah, that appalls me. And if there's ever a definition of morality being very confused, I think that defines that very thing. So anyway, let's move on. How did his faith and message shape the way you personally felt about him?
Um, Look, his faith played a big part in his message. All right. And I've always said, and you've heard me say this many times, right? I respect all religions. If you follow any religion to the good way of its being, you will lead a good life, right? All religions. Yeah, be kind, be decent, be good to your neighbor, don't kill, don't murder, don't steal, don't. These are rules in every religion. Now, every religion also has another side to it where it says kill the heathens, kill the non believers. Christianity and Islam and many others, apart from Buddhism, which I absolutely love, but that's a different thing. Um, so his morals came from a base of Christianity. Did that make me think, because I'm an atheist? Well, it's all. I did sometimes think, well, your view, let's say, on abortion was strictly done or made. No, it wasn't. That's a lie. A lot of it came from his religion, but it also came from his morals of life. Yeah, that life is God given. So I suppose it came from religion, and we shouldn't extinguish life in any way, shape, or form. So there are two sides to Charlie Kirk. Every argument he could debate outside of his religion. So he could talk about it outside of his religion, but I think his religion influenced majorly a lot of his talking points. Did that affect me in the way I thought of what he was saying, whether it was right or wrong? No, absolutely not. I either agreed with his point or I didn't. And whether it was coming from a religious basis or not didn't matter to me. Was the point a good point? Was the point a moralistic point? And was the point a point that would help society to improve in this degraded, degenerate way that we live now? Yeah,
Yeah, it's an interesting question, that one, isn't it? Because rather than say religion, it's like I like the way it was worded. It was like faith. So he had
mm.
obviously had a lot of faith and conviction in something he believed in,
Yeah,
and very cleverly on the when I really think about it, although I haven't had a deep dive like you have, he used his faith not in a nasty way as a good grounding for the message he was trying to put across.
absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Have I seen
Yeah,
that? Yeah,
yeah. As I said, every religion has got very good points
yeah,
to them as well. They are basically, to me, they are rule books of their time, and they are a good way to live your life in general. Okay. Now, if you follow those good ways to live your life, then what bad can come of that, right?
yeah,
My wife is a devout Christian, and I'm an atheist, but I totally respect her views, and I totally respect the way she conducts herself. She's decent, she's loving, she's respectful, she's caring. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of that comes from her religion, in her morals.
yeah,
So not religion is not a bad thing. It's how we interpret it and how we use it that can make it good or bad. And
yeah,
that's what Charlie did. He took the good points out of his religion and he put them into the moralistic ways to live your life. And maybe you don't agree with all of them,
yeah.
but they were coming from a good place.
Do you think it's quite interesting what you said there, and I find that really, really moving because on my, what I'm like, I like to study and observe people, and I listened to a really good podcast the other day. I can't remember the guy's surname. He was a young Muslim guy. I say young because I'm 60, so anyone under 60 is young.
Oh, you
But
made me feel good about myself. Then I'm young.
yeah, and he was talking about his core faith. And I sat there and I thought, oh, wow, I've never heard it put across that way as deeply and to understand the core faith of what he believed in and what he followed. And I thought, well, that's no different to the core morals that I believe in, but I don't label myself as belonging to something.
Hey,
And then, the more you've been talking about Charlie Kirk and the more I've been listening and the very small research I've done, that's all he was doing, but
yeah,
in a good way.
yeah.
In a good way.
And this shows you were talking about talking to a Muslim boy, right?
Yeah,
Or young person.
yeah, yeah,
Now, it shows you that even people like, let's say, Tommy Robinson, we're talking about political figures and very influential figures. I don't disagree with everything he says, and I don't agree with everything he says, but he's very against the Quran. He's very strongly against it. But hang on, the Quran also tells you a good way to live your life. There are many beautiful things in the Quran, right? Respect for your parents and charity and decency and helping people. It's what you take out of any religion. And remember, the majority of the time, you follow the religion you're in because you're born into it and for no other reason. So take the good out of it. If you're going to follow religion, take the good out of it. And that's what Charlie did.
yeah, definitely. It definitely opened my eyes up and it makes me try to search out the deeper that I don't know about you, Cobra, but often to find really good morality in people is to find out that true deep meaning of where they're coming from with their faith and taking away the rhetoric of what a lot of us get slightly annoyed with, and that's the extreme side of religion.
Yeah.
Taking that away, you all of a sudden understand that the grounding of all these different beliefs and faiths are all pretty much the same from a morality point of view. And that's
Law
so
books of their
refreshing,
time, bruv. Law books of their time.
so refreshing to see.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's based around those good fundamentals of, what different faiths
Yeah.
preach, maybe with different words, but you break it down, they're all the same. They're all the
Yeah.
same, man. And
Yeah.
that's a breakthrough from my point of view, because that allows me to find the people that I really want to listen to more than
Mm,
anything,
mm.
that have a connection. that's based around that, the good, not the bad or the manipulation of making it bad for someone's gain somewhere down the line, you know. So that's cool. So should we move on to the next one? We've only done three and we're an hour in, but there's only six, and then I'll give you a bit of freedom at the end.
Let's go.
The next one's an interesting one. Can we condemn political violence while still critiquing his rhetoric?
100%. I condemn political violence on both sides, anytime, for any reason. Right? And the second part of your question there was while still following his rhetoric.
So you can still criticize what he's doing
Absolutely.
without having to politicize it and then
Cause
make it
violence.
make it violent.
Absolutely. I said in the beginning, I didn't agree with everything. And if you totally disagreed with him, totally disagree, you have every right. Every right. You have a right to your opinions. They may be totally different from his, they may be totally different from mine. You have a right to your opinion. But should you take that to a violent stage ever? No. That's your opinion. And if I can sit here and go, you have every right to your opinion, in the same token, I have every right to mine. And Charlie Kirk has every right to his. So, yes, absolutely, you can disagree, but that was what he was all about. Disagree with me, come and debate with me, no problem, let's talk about it. What is wrong with that? Why do we? And you see, the problem is as well, bruv. Again, I keep mentioning this because this, to me, is a major part of criminalizing him or making him look bad. Why do you have to go to name calling even? If I don't agree with you, Andy, I don't have to start calling you a bigot and a fascist and a racist, right? Let me just debate with you. I'm going to give you a very good example. When I was young, as I said, it was a very racist time. And I ran a pub, or I just got into running a pub in East London. And it was a totally white, very racist pub. I was the first Indian to ever walk in it. I think I might have told you this before, bruv. And I'm not going to mention his name, but I remember his name to this day. That was 30 years ago. He led a group in there who were extremely far right racist. And I had to serve behind the bar. And they'd come up and they'd go, wait, Packy, give me a drink, right? And I turned around and said, when you learn my name is when I'll serve you a pint, right? And I broke through by being a bit strong like that. And then I sat down, and with this one guy in particular, I had a massive debate with him about race, about everything, culture, the war, how foreigners were brought into this country originally because of a lack of labour, and etc., etc., etc. And though I may not have changed his core view, he may have still been a racist deep down in the core of him. I made him think. And that was the most important thing. I didn't call him names. I didn't beat him up because of his extreme views and his rudeness. I changed the way he thought. And he treated me like a friend. And I'm not saying that we were best of friends or, I respected him in the way of a friendship. But I made him change his views. Ain't that what it's about? Yeah, you can disagree with Charlie Kirk. You can debate it till the cows come home with him or with your friends. But was there any reason to kill him?
Yeah, that's a very deep question, man.
It is.
It's yeah, and that's why I mentioned earlier on that there's yeah, that was a ridiculous. There's no need to do that in today's world, you know.
Never. No
Uh,
excuse.
Do you think then on that it just always seems quite cyclical and interlinked at a deeper level that when people are faced with proper conversation, then people can be defensive over how they've lived their lives and possibly during that conversation and debate that it could bring up fears that they haven't addressed and found comfort by going a different way. And then that's the reason why people may retaliate in a violent way because they don't really want to address those core morality things that they've been so disconnected with. They fear it through being put into a position where they have to face it. Does that make
100%.
sense? Yeah.
There are many debates on YouTube, of some of these ladies who go on OnlyFans. And when they are questioned about it, they get very defensive about it because deep down they may know it's probably not the best thing, but they feel they have to defend it then. And they can turn and start getting abusive because of it, you know? So, yeah, 100%. He would make people think about what they've done in life or their morals or the way they're going about things. Now, should that turn to violence? Absolutely not. Does it turn to violence? Yeah. Whether it be verbal violence or whether it be physical. Most people, if they turn that way, could go verbally violent, as in calling him names and all that lot. I think one of the things was Charlie was a great debater. I mean, he knew his talking points inside out, 100%. So when you're debating a man like that, it could be frustrating, being honest.
Intimidating.
Intimidating and frustrating that you can't verbalize your points as well as he can, which maybe meant that you felt that he was always winning the arguments because he knew his talking points better than you did. Right. And I've heard that said. Now, if that be the case and he won a debate with you, let's say, not one, but, you know, he came out stronger on that debate, and it was because you didn't know your talking points well enough or you weren't educated well enough on the subject, would that not spur you to then go and educate yourself better on that subject and come back one day? And if you still believe the same way that you did originally, debate again with better points? Would it not be a point of learning his talking points and having arguments that were relevant to that you could close him down on? You see, a lot of people, when they are losing a debate, let's say, I say losing, it's not losing, but if you know, are losing a debate, will turn to criticism. So many times you saw him, you know, talking to someone, they'd be losing the debate, and they'll just turn around and go, "Fuck you, Charlie Kirk," and walk off. That was the best they could do. One that always made me laugh was a guy, his biggest insult was he was losing the debate totally. I mean, he was being smashed. And he turned around and goes, "Fuck you, Charlie, your face is thin," and walked off. I was like, what? Yeah. So it was a desperation thing. He didn't even know what to say to cuss him. It was a desperation thing of, "Oh, I've been caught out totally. Fuck you, your face is thin," and walked off. So yeah, bruv. Yeah, definitely people who were losing a debate or whatever, it could turn them against him more because they felt that he knew his point better and they couldn't get a word in edge. Go and study more. Go and learn more. That's the whole point of debates, right? I have this debate with you or whatever. We have a debate together and you make me think about certain points. So I go off and I look into them more. And then I'll come back one day and I go, "Bro, do you remember when you said that? I actually looked into that and I think you're wrong." Or, "Bro, that time we had that debate and you said certain things, you were right. Yeah. I looked into it and yeah, you were totally right." Ain't that how we learn?
Yeah, definitely. Anything that makes you look within yourself to see how you can evolve, become better, that can be quite tough sometimes
Yeah.
if you're willing to go down that route. The problem with it is that if with this side thing and this black, white, one, two, red, blue, you know what I mean, what was
Mm-hmm.
highlighted,
Yeah.
is that there's always someone on the other side to go, "Don't worry, bud. Don't worry about that. You really you did the right thing. I could see you get frustrated. Let's just let's just support you a little bit more so the next time you come across it and then feed into that person, which possibly may have happened, um, a rhetoric that isn't their own, it's someone else's influence.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
That is really dangerous
Yeah.
because vulnerability then becomes an asset to the people that want to use vulnerability to achieve something.
Mm.
And sometimes I think that possibly that could be behind a lot of these political violence that we see.
Yeah.
It's scary, really scary. It's almost as if getting back to your earlier point, as the youth can't seem, or there's not enough emphasis on. I suppose it's cyclical. It comes back to the same thing: free speech, free debate, open views, without someone constantly telling us why we shouldn't be like that, we should be like this, or should
Yeah.
be like that. And
Yeah. And this is what happened, bro.
political
We
violence in a way, but mentally.
but bro, with this, say, like, just going on to the woke culture bit, right? It came into our jobs, it came into our industries, it came into our colleges, it came into our universities, and you were supposed to follow it, whether you liked it or not, right? So I remember getting an email saying, we now expect everyone to put their pronouns in emails, right, from a company. And I turned around to my business partner and I went, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I don't need to tell you my pronouns, whatever that is, even. Do you know what I mean? I don't agree with it. So it was being forced on society. Where was the debate ever about whether this was a right or wrong thing? Where was the discussion about it all? It was forced on society. And this is where the problem comes. With the youth, when these things are forced in society, they grow into it. And so it's normal. So where they've been taught, for instance, there are many, many genders. And again, this is not a discussion about the actual politics of it, just the point I'm trying to make, right? There are hundreds, thousands of genders. You can be whatever you want, but you grow up with that. When you then talk to someone my age who goes, no, there's male and female, it's like they look at us like we're crazy. Like, hang on, I've been taught this at school. What are you talking about? It's a known fact. It's scientific. No, it ain't. It's been made recently and it's been forced upon you. So let's debate it. Let's talk about where this came from in the first place. Let's talk about who first talked about genders, because it weren't that long ago. Right. And this is what I mean, bruv. Like, society's changing without the debate. Society's changing without the discussions. And so the kids are being pushed into this way of thinking. By who is what I'd love to know, and for what reason I'd love to know. And I have my theories on that, but again, that's another podcast. Um, Without questioning it. And so when the question is raised by someone like Charlie Kirk, he's looked at as crazy. Like, are you mad? How can you say that? How can you go against all these people? He's not. He's stating scientific facts. And a lot of his stuff was facts.
Yeah, I don't, man. Sometimes when I talk to you, dude, I just want to take it off somewhere else.
Well, this is the problem with this, bro.
Yeah,
He was
it's
so influential in so many points. We can talk about so many different parts of this.
yeah.
And an hour and a half, 2 hours is not long enough.
No, it isn't. So we'll have to continue and maybe use this as a stepping stone because
For
it's
many
high.
others.
Yeah, it's highlighted lots of, and we can make them look like maybe little niche
Mm.
videos where we're just trying to talk about, a certain
Subject. But
subject really
today
more
is
than
about
anything.
Charlie.
It is, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, next question. There's only two more, mate. And bloody hell, hour and a quarter already. That's amazing. It's scary. Do you think his death risks turning him into a martyr for his movement? Now, has he
Uh,
got? There's a side question to that. Do you believe he has a movement, whatever that means? And if so, could that? Is there a risk of turning him into a martyr?
Look, it's a tough question in a way. Look, he definitely had a movement. His movement was turning point, and it was massive, and it was turning people into a conservative side and all that sort of stuff, or showing them a different way. So there was a movement there, no doubt. Not going to deny that. I think he has been martyred. I think what the left have done is made people wake up to the ridiculous way our society is going. And he will be watched now 100 times more than he was ever watched before. Um, and we've had some amazing people in the past who have been assassinated, like Martin Luther King or JFK. And they're remembered. They're remembered up to this time and still talked about now, and he will be another one. And as I say, there's two reasons for it. One, he came from a very moralistic point of view and a very, in my opinion, decent point of view. And two, his talking points now have changed a lot of people and have influenced a lot of people. And I've watched so many people now who have talked about how they met him, not just watched him, they met him and they saw what he was and how he changed their lives and how he was a major influence. Yeah, he's been martyred, and rightly so. As in, he should be remembered for the rest of time. He was, as I started this conversation, a highly intelligent mind that I believe is a massive loss to humanity and to people and to the earth. A massive loss. This was a great mind. At 18, he started this. At 31, he was of such intelligence. An absolutely great mind and a major loss. Yeah, he's a martyr.
Do you think that's risky?
The
Just
people who don't want to look into him
just
properly.
zooming out.
Yeah.
Would you see that as risky by labeling someone being a martyr, because that's quite a strong thing to do?
What's your definition of martyr?
Well, what he represented, and
Okay, so
because that's probably really the conversation. What actually Charlie Kirk represented
well, I
in the
think that's a
public
very
view.
good point. What did he represent? Now, if you look at it from a political standpoint, you're going to say, well, he represented conservatives, um, he represented the Republicans, all that sort of stuff. He didn't represent them. He had their views. He had similar views to what they were. He never represented them, right? So then if you say, well, he represented morality, decency, and a good way of life, yeah, I want to remember that. I want people to remember that. I want people to remember. You see, I challenge anyone out there who heard rhetoric about him saying he was this, that, and the other, and it was hate speech. I challenge anyone to go and really watch the whole debates, because you'll find a lot of these people have never watched him. They've just heard, oh, he said this, oh, he said that, right? Look at the whole context of what he said every time, right? And you may not agree with all of it. I'm not saying you will, but I challenge you to watch him, because you'll see a man who was decent, moralistic, and would debate with anyone in good faith. So yeah, no, I don't think it's risky. I think it's waking us up, and I think it should wake us up. I'm sick of not being woken up. I'm sick of going with the flow and everyone just saying, yeah, well, we have to be careful and their feelings. And all. No, no, no,
Do you,
no.
do,
I want
do
to
you,
speak freely.
yeah. Do you see, though, maybe pushing that question a little bit opener, that possibly by martyr, I don't even know if it's a word, the martyrism of what he stood for, could that be politi political?
Politicalized. Yeah, I know what
Yes,
you mean.
thank you.
I know what you mean.
Could that be for the
Yes, it
good or
can.
for the worst?
Yeah, it can
And
be
is that
politicized.
risk? Is that risky?
Yeah, it can be politicized. And yes, that's risky. And yes, that can be dangerous. Right. But it's not going to be him who's doing it, is it? It's going to be other people who are going to use his name and they're going to use his things he said to politicize it. Right. So I think you have to separate the two. You have to separate the people who are doing that and using his name for a certain agenda, and separate what the really what the man stood for. Do you know what I mean? I think if you can do that, you will realize that whatever happens from now is not really down to him. It's down to the people who will use this situation in one way or another. Now, to me, if you use this situation to say to people, please learn from this, right? And learn to debate and learn to discuss and learn to have differences of opinion, then that's a good thing. If you use this to say anyone who thinks on the left or has a leftist view is an idiot because look at what they did to him, no, I don't agree. I don't agree at all. I think the left has a right to their views, and I agree with some of them, and I don't agree with others. The same as the right, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's how it's taken and who it's taken by, and how
And
it's perceived.
yeah, and the big danger, the risk that I see as a perception of what's happened is that how dare you go down that route? And if you do, you run the risk of being taken out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
massive, man.
yeah.
That's massive.
It is a dangerous thing on both sides.
Mm.
There are people on the right after this has happened who said there are no people on the right who do political violence. No, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. There are, and there are people on the left who say they even say about this guy who shot him that he grew up in a Christian conservative family. How many kids don't follow their parents' views? How many kids fight against their parents' views? Whether he was born in a certain thing, a Christian moralistic, whatever, a Christian conservative family means nothing, right? So look, just everyone take a step back from this, man, and really look at who that person was. Yeah, let's even put the views aside, his political opinions aside, and look at who he was. And I think it'll open your eyes to a real intelligent, decent man.
Well, yeah, I undoubtedly, I don't think on the little that I know that I think he had a bigger picture and a bigger story outside of the choosing the labels of where you want to sit in life. I think just by listening to you, I think it's projected a bigger picture of who we are and who we become, and we need to start maybe going back to basics a little bit more,
I think so.
finding that true morality of who we are.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
you'll
think
love
I think the Western world is breaking down. I really do. I think we need to get it back on track.
100%. Um, you'll like the last question.
Oh,
Looking ahead, what lessons could this is like unleashing you
mm-hmm.
personally. Looking ahead, what lessons should we take about free speech, responsibility, and how we disagree in public life?
I think free speech and responsibility are two very distinguishable things. Free speech means that you have the right to express your opinions and to have free speech in doing that. The celebrations that have gone on thereafter have consequence. Yeah, you're free to put them out there, but it shows who you are. So, look, free speech and opinions are very important. We should do more of it. We should talk more. We should debate more and not put people down for their opinions ever, ever. If I disagree with you, I will blatantly say, I don't agree. I think you're wrong. And I will give you as many points as I can to say why you're wrong. I will never put you down. I will never turn around and say you're an idiot because of your views. You're not an idiot. You have views. What are they based on? Why don't we look at what they're based on? Consequence. There are consequences to what you do. For 10 years, the left have had a cancel culture. If they didn't like anyone, J.K. Rowling, for anything she had in her book, cancelled them. People were cancelled left, right, and centre. What's happened after Charlie Kirk, those people who celebrated, what people have done now is phoned their jobs and done things like that and said, well, look, this is the type of person that is teaching our kids. We don't think that's right. And people have lost their jobs. And then those people are saying freedom of speech. Charlie had freedom of speech and he was shot. You've lost your job and you're upset with it. You need to look at the balances. The sad thing is now, how far do we go down this little hole, right? Of not coming back to where what Charlie really wanted, which was that debate, that discussion, right? I think your morals are a totally different thing from your opinions. In other words, Charlie was killed, assassinated, whatever way you want to put it, in front of his wife and children. And people were out there celebrating, partying, making memes, and doing all that lot. That speaks more to what you are and what your morals and decency is than it does to what Charlie was. You prophesize. A lot of people say that he had hate speech and all that lot, and yet you'll do this. Which is worse? So, yeah, I mean, this has opened up a lot of doors, bruv, and we're going to see, I think, a few things get worse before they get better. But I think really everyone needs to take a step back and allow opinions, allow debates, allow discussion, allow learning. What's the learning if I turn around and tell you A is B, and so off you run into the world and go A is B, and you never question it? One of the reasons I don't like religion, as in I respect religion, but I don't follow religion, because you're taught a certain thing from birth in a book, and you're taught to have blind faith and never question it. Well, if you never question it, you'll never learn more. So I think look into Charlie, look what he really said, look what he was really about. And don't just in your head have it that he was a bad person straight off the bat. Listen and learn, even if you don't agree.
Strong words there, dude. Strong words. I like it. I like it a lot. Getting into the free speech thing you mentioned, are you an advocate of free speech?
100%.
Okay. Have you got a fine line?
Look, As I said, there's free speech and there's free speech with consequence. If your free speech involves an opinion and a thing you can say, even if, look, the right wing, yeah, there should be no immigration, there should be no this. I'm not talking about illegal immigration, I'm talking about immigration, yeah. Our culture, our people are being taken out. There'll be no white people left within 20 years, this, that, and the other. Got every right to say it. But then be open to having a debate with me and let me put my view across. You see, the trouble is, when you say free speech, do you mean I don't want to change my opinion, I'm going to say what I want? Or do you mean I have the right to say what I want, but I'm willing to talk to you about it? Yeah, free speech, go for it. Go for it all day long. But be willing and open to learn. Yeah, it's a hard one, bro. It's a real hard. Is there a line? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you can have free speech advocating harm to others. And when people say Charlie advocated hatred, he didn't. Listen to him. But if you turn around in your free speech on a public forum and say, go out and kill all brown people, you're a donkey, man. And no, you don't deserve free speech. That's not free speech. That's inciting violence, right? There's a difference. But if you turn around and say, I don't like brown people, right? Yeah, you got a right to say that. Say what you want. I'll turn around and have a debate with you and I'll tell you why you should like me.
Yeah, I've got a lot of reasons why you shouldn't like him.
Yeah. Thanks, bro.
Sorry about that. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have a friendship like there's no tomorrow.
100%.
So the responsibility side of that question, where does that lie?
With every individual. It lies with every single individual person. If you are totally influenced by someone else who, let's say like by Charlie, if you're totally influenced by Charlie Kirk and you never question anything or you never have your own views, that's your fault, right? So whether it be Charlie or whether it be, I don't know, someone on the left, Destiny or any of them, right? The responsibility of what you say and what you do lies within you. If your only thing is that you can base it on what someone else has said, then it's not your mind, is it? It's not you. You're basing it on someone else. I think you need your own intelligence. I think you need to be able to speak for yourself, whether you agree with them or not. If you agree, speak that way, but speak from your mind that you've thought of and you've learned and you've looked at all sides of it.
And do you think that if we want to have a family, that responsibility lies within parenthood? To
Sorry, I
teach
don't
you,
get the question.
you sounded like the question originally, who's responsible? And you said individuals, which quite, I totally agree with that. But then always at the thought of my mind is where we are now is how certain movements seem to take it on themselves to make them responsible to make you live the way you want to, the way they see you, the way they see we should be living, which you're saying, and I'm agreeing with, that we have to take total responsibility ourselves to live how we want to live. And hopefully, as a community, we can all do what we need to do. But then, as parents, have we not got that added responsibility to teach those basics into our children?
If your parents are fanatical, they're going to teach you fanatical views. Whether you learn them and take them on is up to you. So let me give you an example. If you go back 60, 70, 80 years in the UK, many English people were fanatically racist because they had only lived under the empire or under a majority, mainly, it still is a majority, but a white country. And so when immigrants started coming in, they taught their kids who taught their kids. And it was the kids that we were fighting. It wasn't the actual original people. So, look, your parents will teach you their views. Your parents will teach you if they're conservative views. If they're Labour views, their left or right wing positions. I still believe it's down to the individual to look into every single subject themselves. Of course, parents should morally guide their children in a good way. But we blatantly know that not every parent is going to do that. And if I taught my son, I would say look at every side of every position and then make your own decision. But other parents wouldn't. They will teach their kids that a certain way is right and that's it, and you can't think any other way. And unfortunately, kids are very influenced and very influential. No, not influential. They get influenced very easily. And so, again, like I said about religion, if you're born into a religion, you're taught that religion, that's the religion you believe. Unless you think for yourself and maybe change your religion or break away from religion. It's the same with the teachings of your parents. Good parents will teach good things, bad parents will teach bad things. You have to make your own views. The ultimate responsibility is down to the individual.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, dude. The thing that sometimes I think about and try to get my head around those sort of mind-opening conversation pieces is that on one hand, possibly we can be brought into this world, I hate labels and words, but almost radicalized into an ideology of how we should live, which could be totally the opposite to how someone else sees it.
Yeah,
But is like through those very early influential, which you said earlier, people are brought into religion and they're influenced by it and they live their lives by it. But at what point does someone, or in what circumstances is someone allowed to break from that freedom of how they've been brought up and what they purposely day to day believing? At what point do they become themselves to then make up their own ideas if the ideas have never been presented to them? And maybe that's what Charlie was doing, I don't know. But is it too late, or is it ever too late? Or
bro, I'm
is,
a typical example of this, right? I
yeah,
was brought up in a Sikh family, Hindu and a Sikh family, right? And every Friday, my parents would pray. Okay, we had a little sort of temple set up there, and we'd pray. And I would have to sit there and pray on a Friday night. And I think I can't remember the age, it was a long time ago, getting old, but I think I hit 11, 10, 11, 12, something like that, where I turned around and I was like, this ain't sitting right with me. And I turned around to my dad and I said, I don't want to pray no more. Right? I don't want to be involved. I don't agree with it. And he turned around and said, okay, go away, look into it, and then come back to me with the reasons that you don't agree with this or the reasons. So it depends on the parent, right? Whether they'll give you that opportunity to look into things or not. So I went away and it took me over a year and I wrote a project. I think it was about a 16-page project. And it was The Word of God or Handmade by Man, right? That was the title. And it described loads of different religions. I looked into Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, this, that, and the other, and reasons of things that were written and things that were done that I didn't agree with. And he read that and he said, okay. He goes, look into things and do what you need to do. Now, I was lucky in that way that my father was like that he did that. There were other things that weren't great, but that he did that. But it's very hard, I think, if your family is very strict with something and they will not see you go another way. For instance, my brother tried to convert to Islam, and my parents went off key about that one. So I don't know. It's a very hard one, bro. It's a great question and a very hard one because how do you break free out of the two major or one or two major influences in your life and their opinions? At some point, I think as you grow, you need to think for yourself. You need to take on board what you've been taught by your parents and then question some of it. And it's only when we question that we learn. And again, this is what Charlie did. He told you to question things, he told you to debate them so that you could learn.
dude, all the time you was talking, it's very powerful what you just said. And I've got a very similar story. Um, but I was just sitting there thinking, and there's for anyone watching this, if you really just give yourself time to breathe and actually let what is being spoken sink in, you will see all the answers that you're looking for. I think that's how powerful this conversation's been. I could sit there and try to explain it, but sometimes I want people to feel the conversation rather than listen to the conversation. And that's why I just said it. There's a very deep cyclical meaning behind everything you just said there. And that was, yeah, I really thank you for that. Because I think hiddenly that summed up everything about who we are and why things happen. If people want to search deep within themselves and learn, fair play to you, dude. Fair play.
Thank you. I hope, I really hope this little conversation, because as you said, bro, this could have led into so many different angles on so many different subjects. And I'm sure we'll have other videos which will touch on other things. But I really hope people take a second thought to what has happened here. Um, and look at it from a realistic point of view and don't celebrate his death. Mourn it in the way, whether you agreed with him or not, mourn it in the way of what are we doing? Right? What have we come to if this is what it is that a man who, whatever his view is talking decently and in good faith to people and he's shot for that? Where are we?
I love what you just said there. The biggest thing, I'm going to use that in a closing point on the video, on this video, and that's the big question is what are we doing?
Yeah,
It's just like what are we doing? What are we really doing? And that will give a great segue into our next video. What are we doing? Um,
yeah,
it's powerful stuff, man. And
very. And this, bro, going back to your first question, is why I was so emotional about Charlie's death.
yeah, I get it now. I really do get it. Um, because fundamentally, picking through the conversation, automatically, when you present that to me, my automatic thing, like probably lots of people do, is, well, what side you on then?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and
And
just
it
by
ain't even about that, is it?
no,
I'm on the side of humanity.
no, no, it has come out so brilliantly well through that whole construct of questions. Fair play to NI, AI to putting those across. They were very sharp interview questions for
All
sure.
right, you got them off AI.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, for sure. That, but
Uh,
I looked at them and I thought, yeah, but like anything, just the construct of the questions brings out stuff that you're not expecting
yeah, yeah.
in people, and I see the value of it wholeheartedly. But yeah, man, it isn't about sides, is it? It's about
No,
us.
it really, really, you're absolutely right. It's not about sides. It's about humanity.
Yeah,
It's about what we really are. And, whether you're on the left or you're on the right, it really don't matter. You can be decent on both sides. You know what I mean? You really can. It's a difference of opinion. It shouldn't be life or death.
no, not at all. Dude, I'm going to wrap it up there. I love that. What are we doing? That's a good segue into the next one. Anything else you want to wrap that up? What's your closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, please, guys. Right? Again, no matter what your opinions are and whatever it is, number one, learn. Number two, live a moralistic life. And number three, don't insult or shut someone down because they don't agree with you. Discuss it. Learn from what's happened here. And I urge all of you, honestly, just to look at a couple of debates from, not to get into the politics of it, but to understand how to talk to each other about differences of opinions. It will change you. It will change the way you think. I'm not asking you to, I'm not even asking you to look at Charlie Kirk and say he was right or he was wrong. I'm asking you to look at the debates and how he debated and how we can treat each other better. Because believe me, this is a horrific and horrendous thing that has happened. And we have lost an immense, immense brain out of our humanity and the earth. So rethink.
Thanks, buddy. What a great way to end it. Thank you very much. Love
Thank
you
you,
so
brother.
much, dude. Love you.
Always, always.
See you soon.
Cool. You take care, bro.
You take care too.